Okay, so if you always wanted to train AI on your own e-commerce product, today is your day. I'm going to teach you how to create an AI model for your products so you could generate AI images for your e-commerce brand simply, easily. Now, this is how basically it's going to work. You give it the prompt. So I write something like in the middle of the ocean. Okay, then I choose the product. I have a database of different products. This specific one, for example, is for the Coca-Cola company, for the Coca-Cola e-commerce brand. So I trained in advance 3 different models, one for Coke bottles, one for Coke cans, and one for Neviot bottle. This is water. So let's go with the Coke can. What I expect to see is a Coke can in the middle of the ocean. That's the image I want to generate. You can pick the size. So the size in this example would be 1:1, but you can choose different sizes and also different styles. And then you just create the record. Once you created it, it sends an automation to make. That's my make automation. And now we could see on Airtable how the record was sent as a webhook to make. I already created a video about how to create a webhook from Airtable to make. Then we used an Airtable module to read this specific data and see how it works. Now here we have Claude module. What it does, it creates content. I told it, hey, I want you to take all of the data from what you received from Airtable, and I want you to create a JSON file out of it, so you could create an API call for the replicate model, which is the replicate I retrained this specific product, which is the Coke can. Right now, what it's doing, basically, it's taking 120 seconds. I just take some extra time, but it's generating the image. What's happening right now is that it's generating 4 different images of the Coke can in the middle of the ocean. The Coke can obviously is an image I trained in advance. You can train it on your own images. You can train it on many different products. Let's say you work for an e-commerce fashion brand. You could train it on 200 different clothing products. The reason we have 3 different router for 3 different directions is that I created a router for each product. If I go back to Airtable and I will add a record, you'll see I have 3 different products. Okay, and we can already see, we go back to the automation, that it created the images. We use some AI to just change the formatting of the URL, bring back the URLs, and then take them back to Airtable. So if I go here, I'd actually see a Coke can in the middle of the ocean, which is quite beautiful. So now your marketing team could actually end up using something like that. Or let's say that you work for a company and you want to build like this dashboard, like this is Airtable interface. So a dashboard where you just can generate more and more images based on the database of the products of your company. So you basically can do. That's more or less about that. The suite of tools I was using in order to create something like that was first and foremost Airtable. So creating a database, send the different prompts and requests here to the platform of Replicate. So Replicate, I use Replicate in order to train my AI model. What we're going to cover today is training your AI model, then connecting it with API to make, then connecting it to Airtable and building a dashboard for your clients. Just like that, I already created 2 databases like that, one for Coca-Cola, another one for a company named SodaStream. So if you go to my SodaStream image generator, we'll see that I already created another database with another products. That one is a bit more experimental, but for the SodaStream brand. So I created a different type of training on different SodaStream devices. I tried to create some trippy images as well. And then basically I trained it also on the SodaStream brand. So today I am going to teach you first and foremost how to train your first model on a product, then how to connect all of it to your Airtable dashboard and how to use Make in order to do it. It will take us some time, so let's dive right in. So the first step would be to train your model based on your products. Let's say that we decide to go here for something brand new. I'm going to build it from scratch. So right now I am going to create a new model. Right now I will create a model, for example, based on myself. So I will be the product. I will be the model of this specific experiment. In order to do that, you need to go to the dashboard of Replicate. Go to replicate.com and I need you to train your first model. Then you need to look for Lucas AI Toolkit. Now, in order to train your first model, you need to go to train, and then you need to create training. So that's the first part, training your model. What you need to have is 12 different images of the product or the person that you'd like to train the model on. If you're going to do it for yourself, for your own face, for example, you could just pick 12 pictures of yourself. Create a new model and then give it a name. You can call it, for example, train youth. Then go for public. Then you need to drag a zip folder, an archive zip folder with all of the images you want to train. So for example, what I did here, I was just creating a folder with a lot of images of myself. Some are better, some are not that great, some are really weird, and basically I named them. So I said a photo of Yuval and named it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Captioning is extremely important, so you just want to make sure that you caption it in the right way. So even if it's like a picture of you on the beach, you can say Yuval on the beach. If it's your product in the kitchen, so picture of the product in the kitchen. You want to do it because then you're going to refer to that exact name, and the AI is going to understand that Yuval is you, and it is indeed going to use your name. Once you have all of the images in the right folder, what you need to do is just to go to all of them and compress them into a zip file. If you're on a Mac, you could just right click and then move to a new folder. So you move to a new folder, you give that folder a name like photos of Yuval, right click the folder, compress. Then you have a zip file which is photos of Yuval. Then go here and just pick that specific folder. So you put it right here. Okay, so once you got that, you just drop it here. Then the next thing you need to do is to have a Hugging Face token. Okay, sounds complicated. It's really not that complicated. You go to huggingface.co and open your account. Once you open your account, you just press new model and then you give it a name. You call it, for example, You've Trained in my specific case. And then you don't need to pick a license, and then you create model. And that's all you have to do in this specific case. And then copy it and you drop it here in the repo ID. That's the first step. The next thing is to have an Hugging Face token. In order to do that, what you need to do is to go to Hugging Face, go to your account, go to settings, access tokens, and you have to create a new token. Give it a name, you can call it with the name of your product, and then you need to give it access to basically everything. I don't really know, just give it access to everything. You got it. Create token. Now you have the token, give it a name. And what you have here is your token. So this is what you need to copy and paste into your model. You paste it here, and that's about it. Now what you have is a model that you've trained. You press create training and voila. You have to wait around 20-25 minutes in order for it to finish with the training. And once you've finished, you can see exactly how it's going to work. You can actually test it in the dashboard of Replicate. Let me show you how do I test. I actually go to another place, which is my Flux Lora also by Luca. What I need to do right now is to write a prompt with the name of the product that I trained. In this case, it's Yuval. And I need to pick the right path to my Hugging Face Lora. So I'm going to my Lora right now. And in this specific case, it's train Yuv. Okay, because I already trained it, you can see that we have a Lora connected to it. I press copy and I paste it here, and then I can write something like Yuval in the middle of the galaxy holding a beer. And you need to put the Lora scale maybe all the way up, and let's give it 4 different outputs. You run it and basically you test. It takes a few seconds and then it creates it. Basically it's updated right now. That's great. And it's not perfect, but this is an image of me in the galaxy drinking beer. Different galaxies, different me, and not bad. So what we have here is a trained model that takes me and takes a beer and basically show it like that. We can also use other models that I've pre-trained. So if I go to Hugging Face real quick and I'll go to a list of all of my models, I have the SodaStream Gaia, which is a very specific device that I've created. So I could take this Lora and put it exactly in the same place and just switch it and say something like SodaStream Gaia device, and then what we can do with it, we can do whatever we want with it. We could do in a kitchen packed with many tomatoes. So let's say that we work at SodaStream and we want to promote this new SodaStream device, but also we want to promote our new tomato smoothie. So we want to make sure that we will create model of SodaStream Gaia, a very specific device outcome that I request for it. So let's press run. Let's see what we have here. We'll wait for a few seconds. Now I would expect to see 4 images of a very specific device I've pre-trained. We could look at a picture of that image as well. So I took many images of a SodaStream Gaia device, the back, the front, the sides in different colors. And to be honest, the captioning wasn't that great. I said a SodaStream Gaia device in all of them, but if I would have to do it again, I would probably say here like a SodaStream Gaia device from the side. And here I would say something like a SodaStream Gaia device in the kitchen. But basically I wanted to create a lot of images of this specific device. Okay, so now I want to see a picture of it based on the Lora that I've pre-trained. In a kitchen packed with many tomatoes, I expect to see 4 different outputs here. Okay, and we see the device. We see that the kitchen have tomatoes. Sometimes even the device have tomatoes. That the metrics have some glitches for sure. And if we don't like the results, we could recreate it, obviously. The next thing we would like to do is to automate this whole operation. We want to create this dashboard that I just showed you, that you could actually connect it to Airtable and make and so on. So let's say that I want to automate my image creation process. And if you have some imagination, you can go really wild here. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with it, but you can create, for example, personal texts and personal images for people, an app for an e-commerce brand, but you can do more crazy stuff with it. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is to connect it to Make. Let's get started. The first thing I want to do is to go into Airtable and create a new table. I would start from scratch. What I want to create is a webhook that just sends the prompt to Make. That's about it, because I want all of the database to be managed in one place. So I'll just delete everything, and this is where the prompt instruction go. Let's say that I trained it on multiple people, like multiple models. So we have Yuval and Dana and May. Okay, and let's leave a room for the image files. Attachments, image. Perfect, let's keep it as simple as possible. The first thing I want to do is to send the webhook. So I am going to create here a new view, which I'll call send to Make, because I'll trigger the automation once the record enters a view. So I'll just create this checkbox. We can always remove it later and create other triggers. Let's call it send to Make. Let's filter this view, add condition only where send to Make is checked. Perfect. Now whenever anything is entering this view, I am going to see it here. So let's in space and on the beach. Great. So I have 2 different records here. One that was supposed to be sent to Make and one that is not. So that one would send to Make whenever I will trigger it. The next thing I would like to do is to build the automation around that. So I'm going to automations, and by the way, this is a feature that in order to use most of it, you need to pay to Airtable like I do. I recommend pay to Airtable because it's worth it for this specific use case. So when a record enters a view, select a table, table 1, and the view is sent to Make. I want to trigger this automation. Great. The next thing I want to do is to run a script, and that script will send a webhook to Make. I am going to link the exact script right now for you so you could use it. So that would be down below in the comments. So I press edit and I take the script to my base. what you need to do is to copy and paste this and add the URL of the new record from make. I'm going to do it shortly. Then under name you need to press record ID. Under value you need to press record ID, Airtable record ID. That way we know that once we press the button, it sends that specific record to that view, and then it sends that specific record also to make. If I'll test it real quick, it is in fact going to work, only that it's going to send it to the wrong place. So I am going to go to make.com, which is my favorite AI product, and I'm going to create a new scenario, and the trigger to that scenario would be a webhook. I'm going to create a new webhook. I have a video only about Airtable and make a webhook, so you can go back to that video and check it out. And I'm going to custom webhook. Now I have a URL that I receive, and all I need to do is to go to Airtable and just replace here the URL right here before the question mark and before record ID. You can actually test that it's working. So if we'll go back here and press run once, it's expect to get that webhook. So if I press test, I'm supposed to see that specific record here, and voila, it's working. This is the good step. You're supposed to feel good about it right now. We have our first webhook. Now we have an issue, and that issue is that Airtable needs to read and unpack the data from this record. In order to do it, we give it the get a record module, and we will need to connect your Airtable connection to make. I will press the table that I have. That will be the untitled base, so I probably need to give it a name. So finish editing. Let's turn on this automation. Let's call it send to make, and let's give this title, this base a title. Let's call it image gen video. So that's the image gen video. Now I'm going back here. I need to get a record, so I need to refresh probably. Image gen video. Voila. I need to connect it to the right base. The table would be table 1. The record would be, now I need to grab the record ID. What would it be? The one I got from the webhook. So I just grab it from the previous module. Press OK. Press save. Don't forget to press save. Let's call it also image gen video. Okay, that's another step and a good one. If you want to test it, by the way, you could just unpack this record, copy it, press run this module only, paste it here, and it's supposed to give you the data. And it is give you the data, in fact, in space. Perfect. This is the data of that specific record. Okay, so right now what we can do is just delete these because we don't need them anymore. Our automation works, and brilliant. Great. So right now what I want to do is basically connect this into my Lora, the Lora that I've trained on Yuval, because I want to create images, for example, of Yuval. The first thing we would like to do is connect it to Claude, because we wanted to take the data and create some kind of a script that will call the API of our Lora. So you press create a prompt and you connect it to it. Let me show you the prompt that I've created. Basically, I tell it you will redirect data for marketing expert with information about the product. You need to pick the size. Your output must be in the following JSON format. And then I just put the different parameters inside of my JSON file. And then the output would be just Claude creating a JSON file for me that I could later on pass for the API call. So you could give it different things like sizes and different parameters. In this case, we keep it very, very simple. So I'm just going to copy this Claude prompt. Let's give it 4,000, add a message, role, user, add content, type would be text, and I put it right here. You need to give it the prompt, so I'm just going to grab the Airtable record. Let me grab some data here. In the middle of the ocean on a boat. Person will be Yuval, and the image, that's about it. So I press send to make. Now I'm supposed to see the data right here. Great, and I have all of the information right here, and I could put it as variables. So 400 tokens, add message, role, user, add content, type, text. That's about it. I paste it here. This is what I grabbed from my other version. I don't go for a ratio for now. I don't want the size. And prompt would be, let's say that the aspect ratio will always be 1:1. And this is where the prompt goes. So the prompt would be something like Yuval, which is the person, and then the instruction in the middle of the ocean. And that's about it. In addition to that, I need to add my Lora. So I'm going back to the right Lora, which will be the one that is trained by my images, by Yuval, and I'm pasting it right here. Great. I press save, and that's what we have for now. Airtable that sends instructions to Claude, and Claude gives us a JSON file that I'm supposed to send to replicate using the API. Then it should work. Let's see how I'm going to do it. So I press HTTP and make a request. Now we need just to paste, to be honest, all of the things we see here. So URL, you put the exact same URL that I put. The method is post. The header, you need to add name, which is authorization, and value, which is bearer. Okay, you need to add the word bearer. And then you need to put here the token that you're going to receive from replicate. So we go back to replicate, and let's say that I want to run this Flux Lora with API. So I just press run with API, and I need to grab the API from here. This is my API. You press copy. You don't need all of the line, just the R something, something, something. You see, after replicate API token, you just take the token from here. It's simple as that. And you need to paste it in your make. So bearer, and then your API token. Then you go to body type raw, content type JSON. So body type raw, content type JSON. Then the request content should be what Claude is going to produce for you, which is this one. We ask Claude to produce a JSON file. Now it's going to actually ask that file. So now basically what we can do, press save. That's a really important part. Run once, and now let's see if it is indeed going to work. What we expect to see is that it's going to trigger an API. Let's just press send to make. Okay, and it did send it to, it read through Airtable, created by Claude. Claude created here content, which is the JSON call. And now we send it to replicate. If I'll go back to replicate, to my dashboard, I'm supposed to see the call right here. And I actually see it here. You can see that we have here an API call that is queued. You can go here, refresh, and it's running. So that's great. It will take around 60 seconds. So the next thing I'm about to do is just to create a delay of 60 seconds. So tool, sleep. I want it to sleep for 100 seconds. Great. The next thing I want to do is this to make sure that right now I'm going to get the right URL from replicate. So I need to create another API call. I'm taking basically a huge chunk of data, which is this one, the output of this thing. And I tell it, hey, listen, I want you to give me the URL so I want to get that images. So I'm adding another Claude create, and I tell it, hey Claude, I want you to use 4,000 tokens, all user content, type, text, perfect. Now I'm telling it, listen, take the data out and only the URL that is after the term get. Okay, so I take the data from here and I just spin it from Claude and get only the URL out of it. Now it's a good time to make an HTTP request. So make request, brilliant, and the URL would be the one that got as an output. So that will be that one. And I'll press get and not post. And we need authorization, and then the value would be also bearer, and then the exact same token I used before. So I could just grab it from here. Brilliant. And I also need raw and JSON. Body, raw, content type, JSON. Perfect. And now I'm going to get a JSON file with the URL of our image. So I'm going to create another Claude that will tell it something like, hey, give me only the URL that's from this HTTP request. 4000, add a message, role, user, content, type, text. Let's see how I set it here. Set here something like, take only the URL from here. Perfect. Here I have 4 URLs, but in this specific case, I need only 1 URL. So take the URL from here and present it. No extra text, just the URL separated, please. No extra text, just URL. Okay. And now what I can do is just to grab that URL and bring it back to Airtable, and that's how I bring it back to Airtable. So Airtable, go to update record. Let's update my record. Base, image generation, table, record ID would be the exact same record ID as before. Prompt instructions, I don't need them. I just need to add an image file URL, and that would be the last Claude I just received. This one, number 11, this one. Let's save it. Okay, I need to take the data from my HTTP request here. Save, run once. Okay, let's save it first. Run once, and now I'm going to create another image of India. Okay, let's press for Yuval and then send to make. I am sending it to make right now. Let's see if it's going to work. It's going to take the webhook, read the Airtable. The AI is going to take my requests, put them as a JSON file, create an HTTP request, so it will send it to replicate. So if I go to my replicate dashboard, it actually is supposed to be in the working right now, and it's running. It's actually working right now. And if I'll go back here, I'm waiting 120 seconds, and I would expect it to take the data back when it's ready from replicate and update my Airtable base right here. And I'm supposed to see an image of myself in India. And basically it did indeed send it to Claude. It's got the URL requests, and then it put it back to Airtable, and let's check it out. I see, we have 4 different images here. So how can I change that? I am going back to here, number of outputs, I'm going for 1. That's the issue. It gives me 4 different URLs. I only needed 1, and that's why I didn't update it. Let's save, let's run it again, and let's give it another shot. Brilliant. Notice that if I go actually to replicate and I look at the model, I'll see probably 4 pictures of me in India. Okay. Probably not the best prompt, but it is pictures of me in places that looks like India. Great. Okay, so now let's go for another one. Let's go for walking on the beach. So picture of me walking on the beach. This is my prompt, and what I need to do is just to run once, wait for new data. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sending it to make. Send to make. I would expect to see afterwards an image of me walking on the beach after it will happen. Okay, so we can see already that it sent the request, and now the API is working on replicate. If I'll go here, I could already see that the API call is running right now. After 120 seconds, we're supposed to see it here on my Airtable document. Let's wait. So in the meantime, while it's working, I will say that I'm building right now a waiting list for a small community of people that will have access to all of the blueprints of my automations and all of the prompts that I'm creating. If this is something that you like to use for yourself or for your clients, I'd recommend to join the waitlist, and then you have access to all of it once it's launched. Okay, so let's wait. And there are chances that we're not going to get the best out of it, but let's see. Okay, so it's passed it to the AI to get the URL. Let's see that it actually made it and got the URL. I do see a URL here, and if I go back to here, I'll see an image of me from the back walking on the beach. Probably not the best, and that's about it. Let's just give it a few more chances, like walking in New NYC. Send. And then I would expect to see here a picture of me walking in NYC. In the meantime, while it's building it, I will create a dashboard, an interface on Airtable. So what you need to do is to press start building, build an interface. Let's call it image gen vid. Next, and I'll build it as a gallery view. Okay, and finish. And now basically we have a dashboard where we could just upload more and more records that will trigger in the backend by the make automation. You can press publish. And what is missing for me is the fact that I need to add records to this. So let's press edit. Buttons could be like, let's see, allow users add records from a form. So let's let people to add a record. Publish, brilliant. And now we have actually a dashboard where we can give it a prompt, select the model, which is Yuval, and then send to make, and it should appear. Let's just edit it again, so we wouldn't have the option to add an image because the image will come later. And we can also say that it automatically would create send to make. So okay, and let's press publish. In the meantime, I'm supposed to see here the image of me walking in NYC. Let's wait. Okay, so it's here, and if I go back here, voila, I have here an image of me walking in NYC. I'm not sure why I can't see the preview. Allow users for sure. Publish, and now I can actually see the image. It's not the best one, but it indeed worked. If I go back here, I could see that it used Yuval walking on the beach with my Lora as well. Okay, brilliant. That's about it for today. I know it took some time to create it, but if you followed along, now it's supposed to have an automation that actually it's a dashboard that just keep creating more and more images based on trend modules, and you can take it to the next level like I did with the Coca-Cola image generator, where you could pick a different train model for each product, and then you could just add a record, pick a product, and then you could have like different products like bottles and cans. And if you work for like a e-commerce brand with many different images of clothes, so you can train a model for each piece of cloth and then create many different images of that. In the next video, I'm probably going to talk about how to combine two different Loras in this. So you could have one Lora of a model, one Lora of a product, and then combine them. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And that's about it. It was fun. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you on the next video.